Hello, welcome back. My name is Donna, and this is my co-host Nick, and we are Midlife Unfiltered.
Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? Welcome, welcome. Today, we have the opportunity to sit down with Craig Parks. He has worked with children for over decades as a camp director, kids musician, and a proud dad of two. His ADE parenting method has helped many parents live the mundane into memorable and increase the joys while reducing the stress of parenting. Welcome, Craig. How are you doing today?
Doing great. It's great to be with both of you.
Thank you
Thank you for coming on.
much. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and we'll go from there.
Right. So, like you said, I've been working with kids for really my entire adult life. I've created 2 summer camps and trained a lot of people how to work with kids. And I'm a kids musician. I'm in a rock band too. So I do music for adults as well.
I love it.
Yeah. But, I think a lot of people's stories start in many ways from a place of pain and, you get real about it. And
Yeah.
I think mine certainly did. Both my parents are awesome. And my dad, he just worked so hard. He often worked 7 days a week and I never really got the kind of like presence, both like kind of the emotional attunement that I think one really seeks in those kinds of relationships. And I know that he looks back with some regret, and I do too, that he wasn't there for a lot of like parts of my childhood. And really because he was just working his tail off, right? Trying that generation, right? We're just talking about, being part of Generation X and very different generation than say the boomers, where especially men, it was like the way you showed your love was you worked hard, you provided for your family and you were loyal. And my dad did all of those as a man of high integrity, right? But ultimately I couldn't deny the reality of like, man, there's a certain level of connection that I was really seeking. And I think that in many ways, my life's work has been about building community so that people can feel that they're really seen and really understood and feel a joy in being their truest natural selves. And so getting to work with thousands and thousands of kids, getting to really not abandon my own playful nature has been such a joy. I remember being a little kid, growing up in the 70s and 80s and thinking, I don't want to grow up. I'm looking at the adults and most of them look so miserable, And I remember kind of having a fear of, right? Yeah. And I kind of had a fear of growing up in a lot of ways. And so it's been really, really great that I kind of carved out this career for myself to be a camp director and a kids musician, educator, and to never lose my goofy, silly, ridiculous side so that I could be a role model and kids could see getting older doesn't mean you have to lose your sense of humor or you have to lose being silly or playful or fun, and certainly, I'm still have to take care of the bills and I have to take, be a responsible adult, but it doesn't mean that we have to lose our sense of play and our sense of fun. And then certainly when I became a parent, I had a chance, as we all do, right? We inherit what our parents gave to us and we get a chance if we're intentional to decide, okay, what do we want to continue? And really, what do we want to change? Right. And when we get really intense, and that's where the parenting A to E came in, was like, all right, the E stands for effectiveness in creating that intent. Like if we want to be effective in creating a relationship that where our kids really truly are seen and understood and connected, then our A, which is our affect, like the way we actually use our bodies and our voices is the vehicle to creating that. And so that's what I'm up to, and helping parents realize that, yeah, you could take them to Disneyland, but most of parenting is not that day. Most of it is waking them up, making sure they're fed, making sure they're bathed, making sure, right? The mundane stuff. And my interest was, how do you make the everyday moments really, really special and really memorable and really, really fun and connecting?
I love that. I think that's what, we could take our kids to a million different places, but they're going to remember if you read a book to them at night, or if you watched a TV show with them, or, you sat down and had dinner with them. I think those are the moments that they remember the most, because that's the moments that I remember the most.
Yep.
My dad was the work 7 days a week, never home, just had to provide. And it's the same, it's the same thing. I remember all those little times sitting on the couch with him and watching TV. Or he would work like 12-hour days and still come home and play catch with me because I like to play catch.
Yep.
Donna,
that's what you remember.
Yeah. And it's true. Just the other day, so my son's on the autism spectrum. And, when he was 2 years old, he still didn't have any language. He's verbal now. And he's 22 now. And just last month, he started like reeling off all of the voices I did in all the books that I read to him when he was a kid, right? I mean, because I would always do like, this is the affect, right? The vocal affect. And we would read constantly. He loved books. And so does my daughter who turned 12. And it's really cool to know that like all those voices I did for Berenstain Bears and for Dr. Seuss characters and the Lorax and, all these books that my son could like recreate and remember all of these voices. I mean, and those are the everyday moments, right? It's not the big birthday parties. It's you're going to sit down and just read a book with your kid. You can make that memorable and connecting and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
My husband used to read Sports Illustrated to my boys. Like literally when they were like a day old at home, and I have pictures of him reading the Sports Illustrated. He's like, they say reading is good for them. I'm like, okay, read.
I love that. I do remember my dad's no longer living, but I remember, being young and being out. My dad was an outdoor person. We would go hiking at Mount Rainier because that's where I lived in Washington State. We'd be working out in the yard, whether it was cutting down trees and chopping wood and stacking wood, or helping him dig this, dig that, build this, do that. Those are the memories that I have of, not him. I do remember him sitting down, watching TV together, but, I do remember him making, our birthday cakes, but the memories for me are working out in the yard with him or doing this or doing that. And even with my grandparents, they were very influential in my life also because they lived with us. Same thing. I remember going over and hanging out with them and just my grandpa being silly and doing the fun stuff with us.
Yeah, it's really astounding when you think about like how we want our own children to look back on their childhood. Like I look back on my childhood and my dad looks back on it, right? And we have regret. And Parenting Harmony, the business that I created was really for the sake of helping parents learn how to create the kind of relationships in childhood with their children that when you both look back with deep gratitude instead of lingering regret, because that's
right.
There's pain around that. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be that way. And I've now lived it as a parent, especially with a kid who's on the autism spectrum, but also with my daughter as well. And I want to say this too in terms of happy memories. One thing I do remember is my dad, when he was home, he'd often play music, and he was really influential for me to become a musician and to love music. And I do remember he would pop me up on his shoulders, put on the Beatles, and we'd go dancing around the house. And later on, when my daughter was super young, I wrote a song called "Dancing on Daddy's Shoulders." And
how cute!
And every day I'd pop her up on my shoulders, and we would start singing this catchy melody. And music is one of the most powerful memory making devices that we humans have. Yeah, and so that's another way to really create incredible memories just in the everyday moments.
Wow. See, that song there is going to be, your daughter's going to remember that. She's like, Daddy, you wrote a song for me or, about me. And, I was on his shoulders and we were dancing. That's going to be definitely something that even though she's 12, she might not say it now, but as she gets older, that's definitely going to be something she's going to remember when she's an adult. I love that. So let's talk about the camps that you have started. You said you've started a couple of camps for children. So what was your inspiration to start a camp, and what do we do at these camps?
Mm-hmm.
So, I love that here we're 3 Gen Xers, right? And, the world of camps now it's computer camp and it's coding camp and it's sports camp, right? It's specialty camps. But like when we were kids, camps weren't like specialized in the 70s. It was like, you go to camp and you kind of had a hodgepodge of everything.
Right.
And so the camps that I created were that, like, we did field trips. There was art, there was sports, there was music, there were crazy games, right? There was all of it. But at the heart of it was really about relationships. At the heart of it was creating community where kids could feel completely celebrated for being their unique selves, right? And also teaching them conflict resolution skills so that they could actually turn into the kind of human beings that know how to deal with what it is to be a human being, right? So, like back when we were growing up, like if we had a problem with another kid, we'd go to a teacher or, and they would be, and a teacher would say, stay right here, I'll handle it, right? Mm-hmm. And, the camps I'd run, when campers would come up to us, we would actually coach them on how to go back to that camper and communicate in a healthy way for conflict resolution. And so really the camps I ran were so fun because it also, gave me a chance to be a total goofball. Juggling and eating at the same time and, doing mechanical gorilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then, having talent shows and different things where kids can just express themselves in their own unique ways, be seen for who they are, but also realize that we do live in community. And so how do we do art together, and how do we play sports together, and how do we sing together, and how do we play together in a way that we celebrate each other? And it was, and what was great about it was that the campers, they loved the environment so much. We had zero tolerance for people being cruel or bullying each other or teasing.
That's wonderful.
And so every year they kept wanting to come back. And it was also the kind of camp where I designed it where it was 2-week sessions. So it was really built on relationships.
Mhm.
I don't let campers just sign up for a day. So it was really built around, we're going to get to know each other. We're going to connect. We're going to have great memories, and these campers grew up to be my counselors in training, and my counselors and my head counselors, and eventually my assistant directors. And over years, like, it was amazing. And I've ended up like officiating weddings for like some of my former kids.
I love that. Those are the bonds that you make.
Yes, without a doubt.
Love those. I love those type of camps. I'm not going to say where it is, but there is a camp in my state. Donna knows what it is. And it's quite large. Kids from all over come to this thing. It's a week long. I mean, they have, day camp for the little ones. Once you get to a certain age, they allow you to stay the night. But it's no devices, no phones. If you have a phone, it gets turned off. You're not allowed on it unless there's an emergency. And then you have to talk to your counselor. Everything is, they go rock wall climbing. They have a zip line. They have horseback riding. They go hiking. They have paintball. They have a rope course. They have it all. And obviously there's a lot of team building, and I don't know exactly all what they do, but there's different things, different categories that you can sign up for, different themes. But every kid that I've talked to that has gone there literally make besties. Little ones will cry when they have to leave because they don't want to leave because how much fun they have. My kids go during the weekend, during the wintertime, and they love it. They love it. And I mean, I do know the people that work there, but even them, I'm seeing that I know who works there. I know that those kids are having an absolute blast because the workers there, the counselors, they give it their all. They give it their all. And another thing, like you talked about, they really try to encourage the children to work out their disagreements. And then if they have to step in, they do. And that's what I've raised my kids to do. And I'm like, if you have a disagreement with somebody, you need to go and talk to that person, figure it out. And if it doesn't work out, then, let an adult step in and, take over. But you got to try first.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great because it's like we look at the ills of society and it's like, wow, if we actually taught human beings from a young age how to confidently go up to another human being and say, hey, when this happened, didn't really work for me. Can we work this out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To really listen to each other.
It's really good. Really good. Nick knows I have a son that is a teacher, 5th grade teacher, and he's been a camp counselor supervisor for 10 years now in our town. But he does the 4 and 5-year-olds. So when you say it's no device, it is no device because it's no like, okay, here's a movie, have fun. If it's pouring rain out, they put a movie on.
Right.
But he literally makes up games that me and you would look at and go, what are you doing? But these little kids think it's the best thing since they think they can reach the net on the basketball. And they run really hard and they jump. And all the counselors are like, good job, get in line, try again. And the smiles on these kids' face over something so little that they think they're going to touch this netting on the basketball that they're never going to get close to. I mean, it's phenomenal. It really builds them up. And I think that, it's just great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, that sense of playfulness is so crucial. And really, it's crucial for us as adults too, to actually not lose our sense of playfulness and laughter as well.
So important.
Yeah.
It really is.
So you said that you've written songs and you wrote a song for your daughter. How has that helped you parenting your children? Now you said you had one that's 12 and one that's 22. So that's a huge, 10-year age gap there. How does the differences between playing music and writing music with your son or having your son listen to now your daughter? How does that help parenting and what are their thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I have a whole course called Parenting A to E where I actually teach affect, where I actually teach parents how to actually use their body, their shoulders, their hands, their arms, their facial expressions, also the full range of their vocal expression to have connection. And then, so like the first module of my course is that, but then the second and third modules are the practical application. The second module is actually 14 songs that are
Okay.
like songs that parents can sing when they're waking their kids up for bath time, for eating, for playtime, for bedtime, right? For washing hands. Like, and so, I'll give you an example. There's one song I wrote that I ended up writing. I finished it 10 years apart because my kids are 10 years apart.
Mhm.
And so my son, when he was young, he was eating a banana. And all of a sudden I start singing, bananas, bananas, yummy, 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 bananas, 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 eat them with good manners, right? And so that's the chorus of this tune. And so it was so silly. And my son would light up when he'd be eating this banana, right?
Right.
And then 10 and a half years later, my daughter arrives and, you know, when she was eating a banana, I started coming up with verses for the song, right? And this song is actually on Spotify, and it's a song I do at camp too. And the kids,
I gotta look for
they go nuts because it's just silly, and the verses are ridiculous and silly.
Mhm.
And so you take something as mundane as like eating a banana, and it's like all of a sudden, like, you know, Nick, you were talking earlier about how, you know, our kids are going to have these memories from these different things, like reading a book or voices, or, you know, like this is it. Like pick up a banana and like all of a sudden, like memories can start flooding back. Right. And so that's why I wanted to put this music out, and I recorded it and put it out so that parents, especially young kids, if they really are interested in having that relationship where they'll look back with a lot of happy memories, music is key. Music is really important. And so for me, like, you know, certainly writing songs was a part of the fun and the joy of it. Like when, you know, they're in the bathtub, you know, scrub, scrub, scrub in the tub, scrub, 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 scrub. So I had these like fun, catchy songs.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, you know, I want parents to understand, like, you know, if you feel like you certainly don't have to write songs. There's a million songs out there that are already wonderful, and just putting on music and, you know, putting them up on your shoulders and dancing around and having a dance party. You know, music is so key. And what's nice too is that, you know, for my kids and my son especially, given, you know, his disability, is that music was so key that he was actually singing before he was talking. And
Oh,
and then he got his first drum set shortly before he turned 3. And I swear to you, he sat down with this little drum kit. He starts playing an actual beat. And my
Wow.
son is now a professional drummer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah. You know, and we're, you know, we're in a band together. I have several bands. He's the drummer of one of my bands. And he's
Oh, I
also,
love it.
he's also a DJ. And so like, so music is really key, and it's been certainly a really important bonding and connecting experience for my son and I, but also my daughter's very into musical theater. She sings and she plays
Wow.
piano, you know, so if I just feel like if parents are not utilizing music, they're really kind of like wasting a resource that is there for them. And you don't have to be a musician. You just have to be able to, like, you know, press play, you know, and have a song come on
Yeah.
and sing too.
A
Like, you
beautiful
know,
way to communicate.
yeah, you know, and I tell parents too, like, they're like, well, I don't have a very good voice. I'm like, let me tell you something. Like, your kid at 3, 4, or 5 years old is not Simon Cowell saying, you're a little pitchy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like your voice as their parent is the voice of love, is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and so if you can get over that, one thing, you're role modeling for them that, hey, be free, sing. It's one of the greatest things to be able to do is just sing.
Yeah.
So music
You
is,
just
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
say, even if you just play like music in the car, like let them play their music. For example, you know, every time my kids are in the car, they hijack, because I've got teenagers and then one adult, they literally hijack the radio and they play their music and I listen to it. So yesterday we were on our way, 5-hour drive to take my oldest daughter back to college, and I was forced to listen to their music all the way there and back. But it's what they wanted to do. And every once in a while I'd be like, this song's not my jam. If you want to keep mom awake, you got to hit. So they would go skip and they would, you know, find another one for me. And I'm like, okay, how about this one? You know, and they were singing and laughing and giggling, and that's what they wanted. I'm like, okay, we're listening to their music. So the whole way for 10 hours straight, I listened to their music.
you're generous. You are generous. That is really beautiful.
No, I mean, it's, you know, it's what every once in a while I'll be like, nope, I don't want Jimmy's today. It's mom's turn. You know, they're like, man, I'm like, dude, you have it every other day. Leave me alone.
Right.
Leave me alone for 15 minutes, please. Thank you. But yeah, no, I mean, even if like I can't sing, but when they were little, obviously we would sing cute little songs. But then as they got older, the way that, we bond is by listening to their music. Then they tell me about the artist and the songs and
Hmm.
this and that and the music video and what movie it was played in and how, or, what themes, what album is good for this movie. Like, Mom, did you watch this movie? Oh, Mom, this is like the best. I'm like, okay. They're like, no, Mom, you need to listen to this entire album. I'm like, okay. And that's, with music, that's what they want to talk about. So I'm like, okay, I have no idea half the time what they're talking about, but I'm down with it.
Yeah, you know what? It's great too because when just the very act of them wanting to share like
Hmm.
what they love is
Yeah.
is a reach for connection, right? And so for us to receive that and be like, you
Hmm.
know, wow, that's so cool. Tell me more about what you love about this, And
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it really is. Music is such a bonding experience.
Yeah, it really, really is. And I mean, I was watching, there was not watching. Yeah, no, I was. There was I don't remember his name, but he's a singer. And he was saying how one of his children loves music and that's how he bonds with his child with music. But then he has another one who loves to dance. He says he can't dance to save his life, but he does funny little dance moves with his daughter, I think is one of his daughters, and the other, and a boy, he likes to play sports. And so he does, that's how he finds ways to bond with his children, even though music is his passion and that's what he does and that's what pays the bills. But he says he finds other ways where each one of his children, he finds out what they like to do. And he has a little itty bitty. And so he says he goes from dancing, playing basketball, singing to playing Barbies with the 3-year-old.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like my daughter is she's definitely into music, right? She's in musical theater, but she's super into stand-up comedy. So
Oh
like
God.
in the car, we listen to comedy all the time. And she's actually for talent shows at her school, she's done stand-up routines and
I love it.
Love
it's
it.
it's
It's
great.
a
So
girl
yeah,
after my own heart.
yeah, right. So like discovering like, what each kid is into and tapping into that is,
Mhm.
is such a great way for deepening that connection.
Now, do you take any of the songs that you've written or, that you've sang? Like, do you go into schools and sing for kids or do anything
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah. So I've done a lot of mom and tot classes, with
Yeah.
babies and I've done a lot of preschools. I certainly was singing at the camps that I created
Yeah.
and ran for a lot of years. Yeah, and I do music with kids. I've also, directed like teen bands and yeah, I definitely do a lot of music with all ages. I mean, that's the thing. Music is so universal, like from the youngest babies to the. I mean, gone into like retirement homes and Alzheimer's places and played songs for senior citizens, and it's even in the Alzheimer's places. It's amazing. You'll play songs from the like 50s or 60s, and they'll start singing. Like there's part of the brain that like will remember lyrics and melodies and music, even if they
Mhm.
can't remember their own children's names. So it's like they light up. Music is so powerful.
So you had mentioned that your son was on the spectrum and he loved music from, we're just going to literally say from basically the time he was born. But then you're going to have maybe one parent who wants to do music, but maybe they have a child who's just not into music, but they really want their child to, that's how they want to bond with their kid, but the kid's like, no, what advice would you give them? Maybe they have a child on the spectrum and their child, different ones like music, some don't want to be touched, some, don't loud noises. How would you help a parent in that situation?
Well, look, I mean, every child is different, right? And so I think it's the matter of learning who are they. What like do we know so much of what I teach, in terms of parents is notice, like just pay attention, notice like what's lighting up your kid, what lights them up.
Right.
The other thing with my son is when he was around 3 years old, I got my skateboard out and I was just skateboarding in front of my house, right? And he's watching it and his eyes went, I mean, and so I put him on a board when he was around 4 years old. And I got to tell you, like something very magical happened with that sense of motion in his body. It helped reduce his anxiety. And we got him lessons at 5 at the YMCA. And so my son, he lives in a group home with other disabled adults, but he has transportation, all that. But he's a counselor at the skate camp at the YMCA. And he started his own business teaching skateboarding to children. And my son
Wow.
also, right? So like I noticed, like he lit up around skateboarding, right? So what I'd say to any parents is like, what are your kids lighting up at? Like what is that thing? Is it music? Is it sports? Like expose them. Is it going out in nature? Are they all of a sudden like,
Right.
like seeing the roly poly bugs and like, like what is it? So I think exposing our kids to a lot of different things and then really noticing, really paying attention and then digging into those things, get paints in front of them and get, markers and get art and get music and get sport, get all of the different things that life has to offer and see what really lights them up.
Mhm.
And I think but throughout it all, at the heart of it is the relationship, right? That we are somebody that our kids can trust, they know they can go to, and we know, we've got their back at all times. But the other thing I want to say is that it's important that parents know that we're never meant to be perfect, right? And, even if we like really have a full understanding of how to use our body and our voice and our affect to create the effective relationship of trust, love, connection, we are never going to be perfect because we're going to have moments where we're tired, exhausted, stressed, and we're going to blow it. The important thing is that we can get back to a place of repair, that we can own it and go back to our kids. Here's an embarrassing story. I had one of those moments when my daughter was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years old. And this one particular week, she was spilling her water in the car, like constantly, and one day I just kind of lost it. And I grabbed whatever I could in the back seat to clean it up. Turned out what I grabbed was her artwork from the day. And I felt like the biggest jerk on the planet, right? I'm like, here's this little girl, this sweet girl. And it's not like doing this on purpose. But I remember, at bedtime, and there's something very sacred about bedtime. It's dark, it's quiet, later that night, and just saying to her, like, to my daughter, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not
Oh,
proud of what I did. It was a mistake.
yeah.
And, I'm embarrassed about it. And I hope that I said, I'm human and I'm never going to be perfect. And I just hope that you accept my apology. Like that was not right at all. And I'm committed that in the future, I'm going to
Yeah.
do this instead. And, and it's important that we have those moments of repair and that we parents don't because we could just beat ourselves up constantly of like, oh, I didn't do enough of this. I
Course.
didn't do that
Mhm.
right. But we're never going to be perfect. We have to give ourselves grace. And, if we can be self-compassionate, we role model that for our children.
Yeah, yeah. And we're not super,
Yeah.
supermen. We're just do what we do what we have to do. And, I think also, social media is you could see a snapshot of someone's life and it looks so perfect. And in reality, it probably isn't. But
Mhm.
to you, looking at that, you're like, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I make my kids happy that way? That type of thing. And, that weighs a lot on a parent.
Yeah. And I mean, what a great point, Donna, that like we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, and we are seeing this little slice that is not really representative of the reality of life. And all
Yeah.
of us are going through our stress and our pain and our tension and our anxiety and our fears. And those are not revealed that much. And, I'm probably guilty of it too, in terms of like content that I put. And that's why I shared the story, right? Of, that's not a beautiful story of me being a great parent. But I think certainly to go back and do the repair is the important thing, and I think it brings up another point for us parents, and that is, uh, for us Gen Xers too, like we were caught in this generation of, we knew there were things that we didn't want to repeat of our parents' generation, right? And we're trying to be everything to everybody. And we almost feel like if we do anything to serve our own well-being, we feel guilty, we feel selfish. But I think
Mhm.
the other thing I really want all of us parents to know is that taking care of our well-being is actually vital to being great, attentive parents. Because, you know, and it doesn't have to be like a full day at the spa kind of thing. It could be, I need 5 minutes to put on my favorite song right now. I need 10 minutes to call up my best friend and just, laugh or cry or whatever it is.
Right,
You
right.
know, like for me, I know like I meditate every day and, and like to me, like that's vital. Like that's something I just have to do. And,
Yeah.
and I look at it as like, well, that's 20 minutes I'm not available for my family. But it's like, no, actually that's 20 minutes that lets the rest of the day make me a better
Available.
husband, father and colleague at work, all of it. So
Yeah.
it's important for everybody to understand what is it that helps you feel calm and grounded and peaceful and do those things every day so that if you take care of your well-being, you're more in that position be there for others.
Yeah, no, it's true. I try to get up before my kids do in the morning and just have, if I can even have 10 minutes or 15 minutes just to, to start my day in peace and quiet. And once they come downstairs, I know, some way, somehow chaos is going to erupt. And then, I'm prepared, but I know I've given myself that 15 minutes that I've prepared myself. And I'm like, okay, my day's going to start. It's going to be a good one. If I don't
Yeah,
get
and
it, then I'm always like, oh my gosh, here we go.
yeah, right. It's like you just kind of need your like the nick
Yes.
time to just like take care of what
Having,
you need.
yeah, having 3 teenagers in the house and 2 of them being boys is a rough.
It is.
You're a courageous woman.
No, they're good kids. They just, yeah, you just always have that one that likes to push everybody's button. I have that one.
I've got 2 of them.
There we go.
Yeah, hey, puberty is no joke.
It's
No.
not. No, it's definitely not. So with this, everything that you're talking about, your camping and parenting, what have you taken from maybe growing up as a child and seeing how you were raised with your mom and dad, and you've taken and that into your parenting style with your children? Or what have you not done, or something that you like, I'm not going to do that at no fault of your parents, but you're just like, that's just not something I want to incorporate?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was definitely like I knew I always wanted to be a dad. Like
Mhm.
it was always in me, right? And there were things like certainly when I looked at my parents' work ethic, I'm like, wow, that's impressive. And when I look at their hearts, like they're good people. They always preach, to us, like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, to not hate anybody, to be kind to human beings, to care
Mhm.
about people who are hungry and poor, like the general values of kindness and caring about humanity and caring beyond just your own self and being ethical and being honest. Like those are the types of values like, yeah, I want to carry that on, to be affectionate, to be positive. But then I also look at, all right, I don't want to be working 7 days a week. And if it means that I make less money, but I'm there at my kids, when my daughter has a play, when my son, is in special needs sports leagues, and I'm at all of his games, like, or most of them, like I will sacrifice certain things because
Yeah,
I don't want to
right.
make I want to be as present as possible. And so again, we inherit things, and it's up to us if we want to be intentional to be like, all right, this works, and this I'm not repeating. I want to break this cycle, and that's what it is. And and I look back, I'm like, wow, I did it. Have I been perfect? No, I never will be. I never expect that. But
Yeah, I don't think any of
the
us are.
the kind of connection that I have with my 2 children is just, I mean, it's so moving, and it really is born out of having as much time and presence as possible. And I'll tell you, the pandemic also was a pretty interesting time too. So my daughter was 5 at the time when it started,
Mm.
and and it did not take me long to fall into a depressive funk, like being in lockdown and not being around people, and not
Right.
playing music and performing, doing all that stuff. And I turned to her. I said, "Hey, Neshama, how would you like to do a show with me?" And she's like, "Yeah." So we created a show called Parks Party Central. Parks is our last name. Parks Party
Mhm.
Central on Facebook, and it was this live show. Whoever showed up with us live, it was music, interactive games with whoever showed up with us, comedy, and it was this hilarious thing that we did, and we did it weekly, and we ended up. So when the pandemic first started, we all thought, all right, by late April, we'll all be back to work and everything. And then,
Right.
right.
That's
So,
right.
right. So I'm like 2 or 3 weeks in of doing this show, it became clear that, oh my God, we're going to be in this for a while. I'm like, how am I going to create a show every week? And, but what I realized was this whole noticing thing and paying attention thing was that every week being at home with my daughter, the funniest, most ridiculous things would happen. And we'd be like, let's put that in the show. Right. And so every show would have a segment where we would say, hey, try this with your kids. And we would have activities, like ridiculous activities that were just fun and silly, that were born out of just natural things that would happen for us. And we ended up doing 70 episodes of this show.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was fun. People love showing up. And
Mm.
I ended up writing a book called Parent Child Screen-Free Activity Book. And I took 25 of these ridiculous activities. And, Donna, you were talking about screens earlier, right? And
Yeah.
so these are actually 25 screen-free activities that parents can do with their kids. And when they get it, They can actually click on it and they could see the clip from the show of my daughter and I doing this. And then they can go and do this activity with their own kids. And
Oh
that's
my
something I'm
gosh, I
really,
love this.
yeah,
Oh
I'm
gosh,
really proud of that.
yeah, I love that because we definitely don't do streams in my house. My kids only get to watch TV Friday nights. They call it Friday night movie night, and they watch a show, whether it's on Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever it is. They get to watch one, and and then we, it's usually whatever they want to watch. It's like usually Star Wars or this or that or whatever, because they're teenagers, so they're always doing fun shows. But no, even when they were younger, it was always just Friday night movie nights. They'd get their popcorn with their candy, and they'd plop down in front of the TV down here in the basement, and they would look forward to that. So I never had to worry about give me your device and this kicking and this screaming, and nope, it was. And then the other time we're playing games, like we are big competitive in our house on Uno. Donna has seen that. Like we're very competitive. We have almost every Uno game that you could buy. We have it. So we're very, that's another thing. They like playing, that or Battleship, card games, Monopoly. Yeah. We just find ways to, entertain them and really just stay off devices.
Yeah, and to play, right? And playing together.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so cool. Like my daughter and I are always in Rummy Cube tournaments. Like she just loves Rummy Cube.
Oh my
So
God, we do Rummy Cube at least once a week.
yeah, it's
So
such a great game.
my girlfriend's kids are headed back to college, and we had our one last Rummy Cube night last week. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss that.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and so
Yeah, Joey does play. Nicholas doesn't, but Joey will play, and my girlfriend will come over. We'll play, but I love Rummy Cube. It moves your mind.
yeah, without doubt. So
Yeah.
I love that both of you are pointing attention there because again, it's another form of play. It's another form of interaction, another bonding kind of activity. And when we're on our screens, we tend to not be as present and we're not as connected.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so yeah. And
Yeah.
childhood goes so fast too. It's like you blink of an eye and it's like, oh my God, they're already this age.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I have a
true.
24 and a 20-year-old, so I know.
I tell people
Yeah.
all the time,
Right.
your kids are going to grow up like that. I always say, I'm like, my oldest daughter is entering her third year of college. And I was like, I just remember dropping her off the other day at kindergarten for the very first time. And now here we are. And, now I'm going to be dropping my second child off in college in a couple of weeks. And then I have 2 left. And I was like, it happens faster than you think. I remember telling my neighbor when her son had graduated 5th grade, was going on to middle school. I told her, I was like, once they hit middle school, it is going to fly. And she was like, literally, she had to take that whole week off before he started school because she just said she needed to soak it in because she's just like, I know. And now, starting in a couple weeks, she's going to have 2 in middle school. And she's just like, she sends me a message. She's like, I don't know about this. I'm like, I told you. Like,
Yeah.
soak it up.
Yeah. My daughter's about to start 7th grade and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And it's a trip. And in a lot of ways, I'm kind of grieving the loss of her young childhood, like knowing that like she was my last kid. And it's like, and I loved, she was the greatest 2-year-old. She was so fun as a 3-year-old. She was, and certainly we end up doing this show, Parks Party Central. I love that we have 70 episodes that we're going to be able to look back on and see like the ridiculous stuff that we created together. Right. I mean, and to look and I look, I started this podcast today sharing about like my relationship with my dad and how we look back and there's some regret there. Right. And it's so nice to be able to look back and say, wow, there was a lot of time. And certainly also running summer camps. My children got to grow up at the camp. So I got to spend every summer with them every day, Yeah. And that was really
That's
special.
awesome.
Yeah, my husband, he always remembers memories. His dad's no longer living, but he'll sit there. My husband grew up in Africa, and he always says, I remember going to sit on this one log that was over by the river, and we would just sit and talk, or they would walk down the dirt road, or they would go to the cocoa, because his dad had a cocoa farm. And they would go walk through that. And he just always talks about the memories that he had with his dad. He always says, his dad was there, but not always there because his dad had 3 wives. But when his dad was present, it was all on him. And he always wants to make sure that he has those memories, that we make sure we always include our children. Like you were saying, you're sad because now she's becoming a teenager, but now you get to make new memories.
Yes.
At a different age.
Yeah, you'll be able to look back and go, when she was in middle school, I had these amazing memories. And when she's in high school, you'll have these amazing memories, whether it's her going to her freshman spring formal or her this or that, or teaching her how to drive. Those are, fun memories. I remember telling my niece one year she had made some unfortunate decisions where she didn't get to see her son for a few years. And she missed him going to kindergarten, teaching him how to ride a bike and these things. And I said to her, I'm like, you can't go back and get those memories. Those are gone. You're never going to get them. I was like, so instead of being sad mourning over those, I'm like, you need to now think about his entire future. I'm like, you have middle school, you have fifth grade, you have fourth grade. You're going to teach him how to ride a bike. And I started naming all these things. And she went, you're right. She goes, you're right. She goes, I can't get those memories back. So she goes, and that's my fault. She goes, but I can't punish him for that. So now, she's all these amazing memories. He's in high school and he's learning how to drive a car. And she's just like, I've taught him how to drive a car. He got his first girlfriend. She's like, no, I don't want him to have a girlfriend, but she has all these like memories that she gets to, to have with him that, she knows she didn't have from the time he was 2 to the time he was 7, but she's got everything forward. And that's where she's keeping those memories at.
Yeah, Nick, it's like, what a great point to make is that we can grieve like, the past that we'll never get back, but really staying present for what's right in front of us is so much at the heart of what Parenting Harmony is all about. And, like my daughter she got the lead in The Wizard of Oz and at the end of this month, she's going to get to do 6 performances of The Wizard of Oz, and
wow, wonderful!
Congratulations!
Thanks, and I'll be at all 6 shows, and I'm like, when I see her on stage, I'm like, it's one of the greatest moments of my life. But whether she has the lead or not, like I'm just proud of her, and she lights up on a stage. But the thing that's so cool about it is the process. This is her biggest role ever. I mean, there's so many lines. It's a 2-act play. It's like 2-hour play. And, but she lets me be the person to run lines with her. Right. And so going through the whole script with her and seeing her work ethic and seeing her memorize the songs and all the lines it is such a joy to just like, these are like the mundane moments of like, okay, you get to see the glory of what's up on stage, but the journey there, and for me to get to be a part of it, and that she trusts me in that, like that'll also be a memory. She'll look back on her, when she was growing up, and she'll be like, oh yeah, Dad and I used to run lines together, and Dad was support with my musical theater. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Before you talked about like, balance and, giving yourself 10 minutes a day, whatever the case may be. I have to say, I remember when my kids were in grammar school, I couldn't wait for grammar school to be over because I felt like me as a mom, I overextended myself to be there and do every single thing that I had to do, that I was asked to do. So when our kids start middle school in 5th grade here. So when 4th grade was over for my second one, I was like, thank God. I did too much. I did too much. So I think it is important for a parent to remember that we have to take time for ourselves because ourself is important.
Yeah. I'll tell you, so I was in a pretty serious band when my son was young. I mean, I was in a band before he was even born. Right. And I was actually pursuing a career in rock and roll, and my last serious band broke up when my son was probably around 2 or 3 years old. And at that point, I stopped playing music for like nearly like a decade. Like in terms of being like in bands, like I was still doing music with kids and doing all that. But in terms of like getting electric guitar, plugging it in, playing music with people in that way, I stopped for a decade. And, it was when my daughter was probably around 2 years old, I stopped to think about like, my gosh, I stopped doing this thing that feeds my soul, that lifts me up so much. And I realized I'm role modeling to my own children that when they're older, they can't do the thing that feeds their own soul. I'm like, I got to get back. And so, this was like almost 10 years ago. So I've been playing again for 10 years. And no, I'm not pursuing a career in rock and roll, but I'm out and gigging. I'm playing in, clubs and playing with people I love. And my kids see that, and they see that how much I love it. And so, but it speaks to that point, Tana, of like, don't give up what you love and what feeds your own soul. Like when we actually do those things, we are role modeling for our kids that they also don't have to give up what brings them a sense of peace and joy.
Mm-hmm. But I think we also have to give ourselves a little bit of grace too, right, Craig? Because at maybe that decade of your life was a time that there were struggles that you needed to work through.
Yeah.
Having
the autism diagnosis.
Child. Yeah. That's not easy. My son's on the spectrum also. He's 20. So I'm sure I can think in my head, I can visualize what you went through in that time frame. And it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to unfold. It's a lot to figure out.
Yeah, I don't
So
sit here regretting. I mean, when that band broke up, I was like, my dream now is to be the best dad and family man I could be, and like
mhm,
my son needs me in a way that like I didn't even imagine when I thought of what it
right.
would be like to be a parent, you know, and
Exactly.
yeah, and so the level of energy and attention and presence I put, yeah, I mean, I don't sit there with regret. And I'm glad that I eventually started playing music again, you know, because now I actually get to be in a band with my son. So that's pretty
I know.
special.
That's
Love that.
wonderful.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's great.
You know, there was oh gosh, I think it was Garth Brooks. He did exactly what you were just talking about when his kids were young. I know he was going through a divorce also, but he stepped back from touring and he said he needed to give his time to his children. And then when his youngest turned 18 and she graduated, he was like, I'm going back on tour. So he needed to step away, even though he toured for many years when his children were little. But he knew, I mean, obviously, we don't know the whole story, but he knew he needed to step away and make himself present for his children. And that's what he did. And he came back, higher than life, better,
How amazing is that? Like, that's
yeah.
such, like, I mean, that's somebody who was on top of the music world. He's
Yes.
known
Yes.
as the greatest,
Yes.
country
Yep.
star in the world. And for him to like remove himself from the spotlight and fame, the fortune, all of that, to
Hmm.
just
Mhm.
be a dad,
Yeah.
like the most loving, like
Yes.
what a
Yeah.
beautiful story
Yeah.
that is.
Yes.
And
I remember.
recognize it. Like, that's
Yeah.
not easy to recognize.
Yeah. I remember him. I remember that coming out and talking about. I know other people had other speculations, but I don't care what they have to say. But no, I just know he said his kids were his world and he needed to do the same thing. And I think Faith Hill did the same thing. She was on the top of her world. And when her kids were little, pulled away and she let her husband keep going. So he kept going and she pulled herself back to be a mom. I mean, obviously her husband was there week too, but they made the decision who was going to, be there, for the children. So knowing when you have to pull yourself back and let your dreams, go off on the rabbit trail for a hot minute while you take care of your, what's the most important part of your life is absolutely amazing. So anybody that does that, hats off to you because I know it's definitely probably
Yeah.
very conflicting. Like you want to do it, but you have to do this, just that tug of war game and being able to go, doing it, here we go. And then to be able to step back in and, follow your dreams is absolutely amazing.
And the step back
Yeah.
in part is probably scary because you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I've let this time lapse.
Yeah.
So how do I step back in and still have that like same feeling again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I think for all of us out there who are listening to this to just
Hmm.
ask yourself the question like, what brings me joy? And can I do even just like the tiniest step forward, just that we're still like getting momentum forward to do it. It's really, really vital to our own well-being. And, the people who love us want to see us,
Yeah.
doing well too.
Sure.
No, it's true. Like I've always wanted to do a podcast, but I just never it was never the right time for me. Like I couldn't have done it when my children were little. There's just no way because it would have been mom, mom, mom. And I'd be like, shh, I'm at a podcast, Now it's like, I can do it. Like my daughter just came downstairs because I texted her. I'm like, I forgot my power cord. I'm like, I need it. So she comes down very quietly, hands it to me, and then she turns around and leaves. But I wouldn't have been able to do it when they were little because I would have been like, are they okay? Do they need me? I
Yeah.
would have had the mom guilt. I'm like, are they okay? Do they need me? Are they hungry? Do they need this? Do they need that? And now I'm like, okay, I can slowly start to do something that I've always wanted to do, but still be a mom and be present at the same time.
Yeah. At the heart of it is love, love for
Yeah.
our kids. And, and I think that's what really was a driving force for me with certainly with my own kids, but also with work I did with children at camps and educational settings and all that, is that I just think about how much radically different the world would look if every child was loved really, really well. Like, and that for me was like the driving question, like, what would that world look like? And I'll just do my part in trying to create that with, the camps
Right.
and the different settings that I'm in, and certainly with my own children,
Yeah.
because I think
It's a
love,
wonderful thought. That's for
yeah,
sure.
I think love heals almost anything.
It does. It does. Wow. This was an amazing podcast. I really, really
Yeah.
loved how you incorporate music and with children and letting your children be a part of something that you're so passionate about. And now your children have picked up on that and your daughter. if she wants to get on Broadway, I can't wait for that day to happen. That is so amazing. I know I just watched a little girl the other day get told she gets to do Annie I don't know if you saw that, but she got the lead role to Annie in the theater that birthed Annie, and they're having their 50-year anniversary. And watching her get told that, I'm not even her mom, and I was in tears. I was
Yeah.
like, this little girl getting told that you just got the one role that everybody is going to be all eyes on. It was absolutely amazing. She's an amazing little girl too. So I can't wait to see where your daughter goes. It's going to be
Yeah.
amazing to see, even if she just sticks to the local theaters.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
Well, I will tell you, Nick, that that is her dream, is to get to Broadway. And it was great. In
I
April,
love that for her then.
we took our first trip to New York, and we got to see a couple of Broadway shows and just
Well, what did you see? Tell me.
we saw Lion King,
Oh,
and
one of my favorites.
and we saw Anne Juliet.
Well, how did you like it?
It was amazing. I thought for 11 or 12-year-old, it might have been a little bit iffy on certain things, but the music and the dancing, I mean, she lit up when she saw this. And she got her first lead a couple years ago as Annie, and so it's when you mentioned Annie,
I love that.
yeah, it was incredible to see my daughter do that. And so yeah, she's got Broadway dreams, and yeah, it's an extraordinary thing to see my kids doing their art and having their dreams. And yeah, it's such a joy. And that's what brings peace, when we get to do things that bring us joy and do it with people that we love. Yeah.
Wow. I am so
Next time you come back to New York, you need to go and see the Bobby Darin play.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. The name of it escapes me right now. I saw it a couple months ago. It's a smaller theater, so anywhere you sit is perfect. But the dancing and the music is phenomenal.
That's cool.
Phenomenal.
We just saw Hell's Kitchen here in San Diego, which is the Alicia Keys one that was on Broadway, and
Right.
blew our minds. And it's so fun to take my daughter to these theater experiences, because she's in it, and when she gets to see like the top level people doing it, so it's so inspiring.
that is her world. So I mean, it's amazing that you guys get to share the passion of music, but then see her grow up and knowing that she's got these dreams and actually will become something when we're speaking it into fruition. That she's going to become something one day, and you're going to be like, that's my baby girl. I remember when my baby girl was on my shoulders and I was singing and dancing with her. So that's an amazing dream. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you go to parentingharmony.com, I've got my podcast guest appearances are on there. If you want to write to me directly, Craig Parks at parentingharmony.com. Yeah.
Perfect.
Creating.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming on. We truly appreciate it.
Such a pleasure. It's been so much fun, Donna. And thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.